welcome to the ultimate guide to Dune Awakening public and private servers. We're going to conduct a comparison on the private server providers and find out which private server packages are going to be best for you and your guild. It's going to be a ton of good information here. We'll also try and answer a lot of the common questions around private servers. Please use the chapters where you need, but let's dive into the ultimate guide on Dune Awakening servers and how it all works. And we're going to start by looking exclusively at the private servers. Currently, there are 3 providers. We have GPORTAL, xREALM, and we have Nitrado. All 3 of these providers offering various different setups, fees, and options, and we'll go through them all and do a nice comparison between them. So to kick us off, what are going to be the differences that the private servers will offer? Well, straight away, you'll have access control. You'll have an option to make them private by adding a password. Otherwise, they'll be public. So I imagine most people will just have a password on theirs. They will be broken down into categories, which is great because it will separate the hardcore players from the solo or smaller groups. At least that is the intention with how the servers are going to be broken up. We know this is going to be the case for servers on GPORTAL, but they're calling these different Certa categories battle groups. So a hardcore battle group is going to be your world, and then all the Hacker Basin instances within that world, which will be made up of other private servers, will all share the common hardcore settings, which is a really good way to do it. Same would go for the more solo or smaller group with the PvPvE, which pretty much mimics the official server setup. This will be a battle group, so there'll be worlds that are dedicated to this kind of setup who will all be sharing a deep desert with other similar mindsets. There's nothing in place currently to stop a big guild operating across any of the different battle groups, so just keep that in mind. But breaking it up into these categories should help channel the experience a little bit more. Now, the only differences between the official servers and the private servers is that you're going to be able to have the option to turn sandstorms off or on, taxation off or on, turn the PvE zone, which is your Hacker Basin, into just one big PvP zone, or turn off PvP completely, meaning even crashed ships will no longer be PvP zones. One thing to note with the storm, if you're in a server where the storms are off, I believe this would technically mean that there would be no building deteriorations. So buildings will be permanent as long as a subfief exists. Since the storm is the mechanism to reset and remove buildings over time, I believe with this off, your buildings will just stand forever while you're on that server. So I don't think there's any way for them to degrade. Something to note, for taxation, you'll be able to turn it off or on. And all the taxation is if you build big bases using a subfief and you build extension spikes, you will be required to pay weekly taxes to the Emperor, which is paid in Solari. And you can kind of think of it like the bigger your base is, the more tax you'll have to pay. And with private servers, you'll be able to turn this off or on, depending on the category or how you want it set up. So ultimately, the configurations are going to allow you to experience a more intensive PvP or complete PvE experience within Hacker Basin, and everything else will be exactly like it is on the official servers. You'll just have no randoms, a more tailored experience. Now, just having a quick look at some of the comparisons here. Now, they all have a variety of different options, but by far the standout in all of this is GPORTAL, having the most customizable options, slot flexibility, custom durations, and applicable regions. A few other things worth noting is that Nitrado doesn't offer a full 40 cap Hacker Basin instance. xREALM doesn't have any Australian servers, so don't go xREALM if you're in Australia. Your best options would be GPORTAL, Nitrado. Now, the good thing is once you've selected what your server is, how it's sort of customized, my understanding is that you will be able to change your customizable settings. There might be a limit to how often you can do it, but it should be available as per my understanding. But we'll have to wait for more information on that, as that means that you would be changing your battle group in some of these instances. It's also worth noting there will be no modding for any of the private servers, and there will be very basic limited admin access. For the most part, you're just allowed to set up the private server with the amount of people you like with those config options we mentioned. One thing to highlight with xREALM is it does offer crypto payments. Before we have a look at a bit of a price comparison, let's just take a quick look at what they're all offering. So xREALM, it only currently has set packages going from 6 slot all the way to 40 with increments of 6. It has no Australian servers, at least from what I can tell. It just has the Asian servers. And a correction to earlier, it looks like xREALM is going to introduce a world selection. So I would kind of hold off
using xREALM, as it looks like it doesn't have any kind of breakdown right now of different categories of server. It also has this RAM boost. I would not worry about adding the RAM boost until potential mods come or more configuration options. There won't really be any mods as such for Dune Awakening, more like extra config options, but a very streamlined, simple setup for xREALM. Nitrado has a very flexible system, having some standard packaging as well as a customizable package. However, you can only go from 20 slot to 36 slot, but it only offers from 3 to 30 days to a 90-day, then skips the 180 and goes straight to 365 days. But you do get a 10% discount at 90 days and a 17% discount at 365 days. It's really worth noting that currently Nitrado doesn't mention anything about server categories or how it will work. That should be coming soon. At least I imagine it is if they want to stay competitive. Now, by far the best sort of setup is going to be your GPORTAL. It gives you the most granular ability to adjust your slot size. You can even put a 1 slot if you wanted, or any slot amount up to 40, giving you by far the most flexibility. Now, say if you wanted to play with 8 mates, and this works the same for all the private servers, you are simply paying for 8 slots within your Hacker Basin. No other players will be able to join. Most likely put a password to protect it. They'll join in just like you would join any other servers. There'll be like a private server selection. And with GPortal, it has the 30-day, 90-day, 180, and 365-day options, offering discounts to make it very competitive, given that you can configure it so much. And the excellent thing about GPortal, as it's the first to break its servers into categories, hardcore, PvPvE, roleplay, and free-for-all, which we've covered. If we have a look at a comparison of prices at 32-player slot server, from 1 month to 12 months. GPortal actually comes in cheaper. I thought it was Nitrado, so I did have that wrong, but it's only by a few dollars, give or take. But if you're going out to 12 months, you could be saving yourself over 20 bucks. To convert xREALM from Aussie dollars to US dollars, so this will change a little bit, but it did look like the most expensive. GPortal by far looks like the winner. Is the best option to choose. It's also the cheaper, having the most flexibility. Then I would put in second place Nitrado, as Nitrado and GPortal have the best available locations as well. And I've tried to kind of put a comparison together of the different prices between some of the different slots, just to give you a good idea. So pause it if you need to, you can have a look. I'll probably try put all this into an Excel document so people can take a look themselves. And just in case I didn't mention it, all this is priced in US dollars. So some of the common questions: is there in-game support for server owners? Yes, all the providers offer live chats, Discord support, and some admin tools are available for bans, restarts, and some settings. At least to my understanding, they'll probably be controlled through the provider's website rather than inside Dune Awakening. How do we expect these servers to perform? Well, these are all official partners. They're using high-end infrastructure and should be performing the same as Funcom official servers or even better. This is a good question. Can you change the battle group / server type after creation? I was thinking you might be able to, but it looks like generally no. To change the battle group, e.g. from a hardcore server to a role-playing server, you'll need to rent a new server and start over. Maybe down the track, once they've implemented the character transfer, it might be possible, but I wouldn't hold our breath on that one. Is there crossplay between private and official servers? No. Private servers are their own world. How does visiting work while on other private servers? Well, if you have access, the password invite, you can travel between different Hacker Basins within the same private world. Think of each Hacker Basin as a neighborhood inside a shared private city, your world or battle group. So for example, your guild rents 3 Hacker Basins in the same battle group. Members can move between them freely if given access. However, it's important to note you can only have 1 character per world. You'd have your home base of operation, your own Hacker Basin. You'd use that same character on whatever's equipped in your inventory. You should then be able to travel, if you have all the access, to your other guild's servers as a visitor, meaning you can do everything except for build your own sub-fief. Can you customize the server settings beyond the battle group options? Right now, there's only 3 major toggles: your sandstorm, taxation, and your security zones. Those are the only things that can kind of be set. We've kind of gone through that, so we won't spend too much time on this one. Can I move servers between providers or regions? Not directly. You need to start a new server with other providers or regions. Progress and settings won't transfer. What happens if my subscription lapses? If your payment fails or you cancel, your server will shut down. You'll have to check the small print for each provider. Sometimes data is kept for a short grace period, but generally it's not guaranteed. Will the private servers get regular updates and hotfixes? Yes, the official partner server updates in sync with Dune Awakening's global updates. Same downtime may occur during big patches. So ultimately, all the servers, whether it's private or public, will be on the same version. There may be some lag time, but ultimately within a few hours, they should all be on the same version of Dune Awakening. Can I set up multiple admins or moderators? From my understanding, yes, you can. You can assign admin privileges to other trusted players for server management, moderation, and rule enforcement, depending on the provider tools. But from my understanding, I think they all offer some minimal management and moderation. Who can join your private server? Access is controlled by the server owner. You'll either get a password or it'll be whitelisted or a direct invite. Some hosts even allow you to set up a Discord integration or join link. A private server is online 24/7. Yes, all official partner servers will be running 24/7. As long as your subscription is active, you're good to go. Can I increase or decrease player slots after renting? Yes, but only by changing your subscription with your service provider. You can only upgrade and downgrade slots or extend time. That's about all you can do from my understanding. Can you transfer your character's progression between servers? No, your character inventory and progression are locked to a specific battle group, your world, and the server you play on. Moving to another server or battle group will mean starting fresh. Can I run mods in a private server? Not at launch. There will be no mods. I don't really think ever. There'll probably just be more configuration options. Perhaps maybe how many worms might spawn, how much spice is available, those kind of things. I'll be doing another video on private servers and go much more in depth as we find out more and more details. Let me know if you've already rented a server or if you have more questions. We'll try get them all together and answer them in the next video. But I hope you got something out of it. If you did, consider liking and subscribing. It really does go a long way. Thanks very much. We'll be covering this again very soon.